Good evening and welcome to the Danvers Planning Board meeting of January 9th, 2024.
Yep, right here.
First item on the agenda is a notice of public meeting, public hearing, zoning bylaw, and overview from staff of the proposed zoning bylaw amendments for special town meeting February 5th, 2024. The public hearing is regarding a number of updates to the following sections of the Danvers zoning bylaw for the purposes of clarity, consistency, and reflection of current Massachusetts case law. Section 1, purpose and application. Section 2, administration. Section 3, general provision. Section 4, site plan review. Section 6, use regulations. Section 7, dimensional requirements. Section 9, accessory uses. Section 10, off-street parking standards. Section 15, healthcare district. Section 16, waterfront village district. Section 18, character-based zoning districts. Section 19, Danvers Town Center Core District. Section 20, Danvers Town Center Live Work District. Section 21, High Street Mixed Use Corridor District. Section 22, Maple Street Traditional Neighborhood Development Smart Growth Overlay District. Section 27, Groundwater Protection District Bylaw. Section 29, Affordable Housing Provision. Section 30, Special Permits. Section 31, Floodplain Overlay District. Section 32, Hawthorne West. Section 34, Congregated and Independent Housing for the Elderly. Section 36, Assisted Living Residences. Section 37, Sign Bylaw. Section 40, Definitions, Table 1, Allowable Uses. Table 2, Table of Dimensional Requirements. Definitions, Table 1, Dimensional Requirements, Residential. The public hearing was advertised on November 9th, 2023, and November 16th, 2023, and a public notice for the proposed amendments can be found in the office of the town clerk. We could go to staff on this one because we've reviewed this for a board.
Very good.
I think.
Yep. So I'm just going to give just an the mic. Sure. So yep, I'm just going to give an overview of, we've been talking about the last couple meetings, couple hearings. So there's 3 articles that we're proposing to move forward, hopefully. One is the MBTA 3A community, the downtown zoning with the multifamily through the state, the adaptive reuse, and then what we're calling the housekeeping article. Essentially, planning staff just trying to make changes in the bylaw to meet case law and to be consistent and to make things clearer for staff and or property owners and developers in town. So those are the 3 articles. I'm going to skip over a little bit the MBTA stuff just because we've discussed it a good amount, but we can come back. So once again, just the kind of purpose or motivation for the adaptive reuse. The inclusion of this is to provide property owners the opportunity and developers to potentially utilize some older buildings and structures in town that without this might be difficult to kind of repurpose them. It's the purpose is to kind of maintain or some of the cultural resources in the community, and just to give just to provide options. Some kind of the nuts and bolts with it. The building has to be constructed prior to 1890, and in order to move forward to pursue an adaptive reuse of a building, you would need to be granted a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So with a supermajority vote, 4 out of 5 of the ZBA members, an applicant would be allowed to propose other uses from different zoning district, from different uses in the zoning table in this zoning district that would not necessarily normally be allowed without this. And basically all the other kind of dimensional and parking requirements that would be required would still be required. Were there any questions or comments about this section?
Questions from the board? Tim?
No questions.
Mike?
No questions.
Jean?
No questions.
Lou?
Yeah, just a quick note, and I know we've gone over this before, but just in case anyone in the audience has not seen this come before, I guess in terms of, Josh, just so I can get it, just taking a look here at the proposed language. So in order to grant a special permit, so it's so the special permit granting authority would be the Board of Appeals.
That's right.
And so they would need to meet, and so they would meet certain criteria in terms of that.
It would be the same criteria, which I'll probably get into in about 10 minutes, that if that's the language we want to move forward with, the new special permit criteria language with the 6 criteria, yes.
Got it. So in terms of that, so it would include also that it would not negatively impact the surrounding area, for example.
That's right.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so I think it's a good, additional tool for the, sort of for the toolbox to in order to, potentially utilize, buildings that otherwise could be in jeopardy. So I have no questions, further questions.
All right. Tori, questions?
How did we get to 1890 as the cutoff? It doesn't sound too wrong to me, but there are buildings where we don't know exactly when they're built. There are buildings where different parts are built a lot. Should we have some more specific language about that cutoff?
In terms of like where that number came from, not to hunt
I mean,
it.
could you have something where the cornerstone is 1890 and everything else is 1972, and it's eligible for adaptive reuse because we weren't specific?
I mean, I think there might be some situations, but I feel like that scenario that you just gave you would be able to, because everything in that building that you just described was prior to 1890. So that instance, I would say that you could do the adaptive reuse in that particular instance. But I mean, I think kind of like in everything there is sort of at sometimes interpretation, but I think there, in terms of another scenario in which you're saying like the original building was 1890 and then, further along there was an addition of something.
I mean, the premise of this is we've got wonderful, valuable architecture in this town, and this could enable the owners of that architecture to preserve it, whereas otherwise it might not be financially feasible to do so. So could this potentially be abused in the case of something that is not valuable because of extensive modifications or additions over the years and does not contribute to the architectural landscape of the town? Would the ZBA have the discretion to say, this doesn't, we're denying this because this property doesn't fall into this criteria?
I mean, I think that can be part of it. It is a very discretionary permit. It is a special permit. It is very discretionary, but
then there are criteria for that special permit approval.
Right. It seems like Lou had a question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. Just in terms of, and this is coming from being a member of the Preservation Ad Hoc Committee, and we looked at this particular language, and I think the 1890 sort of in response sort of came to sort of, I think there was a concern, and I think that was also expressed an earlier iteration of adaptive reuse of potentially being overbroad, in terms of that you could have, particularly like newer neighborhoods and such, where it could be, potentially could be, it could be potentially inappropriately used. So I think 1890 was sort of viewed as a date before there was a large amount of building that took place in town, particularly if you're looking at areas like, the Back Bay in Danvers, and, near Danvers Plains area and other areas which had a lot of development after the turn of the century. And I guess in terms of, and just as a, sort of picking up on what Josh said in terms of a concern of something that would be, an inappropriate use. So let's assuming that there's a building that is deemed to be 1890 or sooner. I think you still have, as part of the special permit process, it does need to, it cannot generate any sort of negative impacts on the surrounding areas, or that any negative impacts generally may be feasibly mitigated. So I think that could address a concern of an inappropriate use.
Yeah, no, I agree. That would address the concern of an inappropriate use. I'm just wondering if somebody could make an argument that their structure dates to prior to 1890, when a structure contained a lot of architecture from a later period, which might not be architecture the town desires to preserve.
So it seems that there's kind of a two-pronged thing. Your question, I think sort of your kind of your question is related to the eligibility part, and then there's a second piece, that special permit piece. Can it, is this appropriate? I think in terms of the first, I think it seems like more of your concern is more of the eligibility piece.
Yeah, that's right.
Wouldn't the town make that, potentially that call, just like for example, for a building that's subject to the preservation delay? That's based on town records.
It's true. In terms of just, right, there would be sort of like history/research. We'd look at the building department. We'd probably reach out to Richard Trask. We'd probably review, they're called like fire Sanborn maps, which they have some, it's online now. You could see like old old fire insurance maps that are actually really very helpful in situations like this. So from the town side, we would certainly do a good amount of research. And I think at some point we would just have to make a determination after, thoroughly kind of vetting and reviewing it. Is this eligible? Is this not?
So that sounds great to me, but
That's kind of what we do with preservation also.
So there's an established process for preservation that
For sure.
could be used for this.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I don't have any further questions. Any questions from the audience? If you have a question on this particular article, I'd have you identify yourself and go to the microphone, please. Mr. Bradstreet?
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. I'm trying to understand the date specific. Danvers started with a very small town, a lot of farms. It's since gone through several stages of growth. At what point was it determined that 1890 was the point where they stepped off the cliff, so to speak? 1876, 1903. How was that specific date arrived at? Could it have been earlier or later? Again, who made the choice, and how was it made to use that as a benchmark? I'm still trying to grasp it. I'm sitting back there and I'm trying to grasp it's not an arbitrary date, but how, other than thinking it was an arbitrary date, how was it arrived at?
I think, and I don't mean to punt it, but I believe that a originator came from out of the ad hoc committee, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it probably has something to do with the architecture, the history of the town that we were interested in. We were interested in those in buildings that were built prior to that date that contained cultural resources that we wanted to, maintain and move and keep. But if Jim or Lou has something else, that was what I.
As Lou mentioned, that came from the meetings and a combination of trying not to have it, because for a while there, it used to be a was it a 75-year look back for Preservation Commission, then they
Right.
expanded to a 100-year?
Right, but preservation, currently it's a rolling
And it's a rolling,
period.
so we didn't want someone with a Campanelli home feel that they were affected, able to come in, which before you know it.
I watched that, the Woodville being built, so
Right.
I understand.
But the actual number, I mean, we had meetings with Dick Trask and
Exactly, yeah.
town staff, and that's how the number came up, 1890.
I mean, Dick is a wealth of knowledge. He can explain all of this to us. He's not here tonight. It's just, maybe I shouldn't be asking the question, but I'm sitting back there, and in my mind, I'm trying to say, why didn't they start with 1900? A round figure, so to speak. I'm just, or 1901, but how was it arrived at? And yes,
Yeah, again,
different-
through consultation with Mr. Trask, the town archivist, and staff, and the members of that ad hoc committee, we came up with a starting date, starting year.
little difficulty, but they came up with it, right?
Yep,
All right, thank you.
okay. Other questions from the audience? Seeing none, are we going to take these section by section before we,
Probably at the end, if that's all right.
and then ask for a recommendation to forward?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess if there's no other questions, comments on this, I'll keep going.
Yep.
So the third article is what we're calling internally and externally as the housekeeper article. It's basically staff with the assistance of a consultant, just trying to, improve the bylaws best as possible. Some of the things, like the goals and kind of motivations were just making sure that there were places in the bylaw that were inconsistent, making them consistent, trying to make things clearer, trying to make the language, with current case law and state regulations, and just kind of using the terminology that we're using today, as, to have it reflected in the bylaw as much as possible. So I'm just going to quickly just go through some of the changes. This is just by section by section. This was just some wording that was removed from section 1. There's a decent amount of not necessarily policy changes, but just a lot of just kind of moving around a lot of the language. The consultant really helped us out with this section. A lot of it had to do with just non-conforming uses and non-conforming structures. The only kind of policy change that came out of this was if someone wanted to do with voluntary demolition, if you wanted to build something that was pre-existing non-conforming, larger than what was there before, it would now require a special permit instead of a finding. But there's a lot of red, or shows a lot of modifications, but just a lot of kind of moving the language around and just kind of updating the language to more like current language. Section 4 is regarding site plan review. Right now, as we speak, site plan from November of 2021 have been public meetings, but our consultant said that we should be making them public hearings and to do the procedures and the notice just like you would for a public hearing. So that's what we're just changing the language. So moving forward, site plan reviews that come to the board will be public hearings, and the associated the procedural requirements will be modified also. So it'll be noted in the paper twice, and abutters will be notified. They were always notified, but the town will do it. The staff will do it now. And then just with the site plan decision, just same, that 90 days after the public hearing, the close of the public hearing, that the decision should be filed with the town clerk. This was just new language that the consultant wanted us to add to the accessory uses chapter. The planning board always had the authority to waive parking requirements. We're just kind of condensing the language that was the current language. We're just kind of condensing it and just making it a little clearer. So we are combining, although they are the same, but we are essentially just moving the downtown affordable housing provisions to section 29, so that all the affordable housing provisions that will be just effective for the entire town, and it'll just be all in one place instead of saying the same thing in two different places, just trying to make it clear. There was several instances where we were just replacing the term building commissioner with the zoning administrator. Just adding the word this is an overlay, just adding the word overlay throughout this section. Once again, what I was just alluding to earlier, just merging the affordable housing language from 18 and 29, just so that it will all just sit in 29. And it will be applicable to all new housing developments throughout the community. In terms of policy, I would say that this is one of the more moderate changes. The consultant gave us this language to utilize for, it would replace our existing special permit criteria with the criteria here. We would be going from 7 to 6. I would say that it's definitely in the same vein of what is the current language to this is quite similar. But this is a criteria that, in evaluating special permit applications for the planning board and the ZBA. Just replacing the building commissioner in one instance in this section. Okay. Yeah, in section 37, we were just modifying, allowing just when businesses open, just a little bit more opportunity to kind of, have signs or have temporary signs. We felt like it was kind of quite short. So we just want to modify the number of days that people could have, like opening signs or temporary signs. And then another big thing was just, not big, but another kind of modification was just bringing all the signage throughout the zoning bylaw, which was through in the different sections. We just wanted to put all the signage in one place. So we didn't change any of the language. We were just copying the language from the individual sections to bring them all just to this one section 37 signage. At our last meeting, there was a request by the board because of a previous kind of item that we've experienced. There was a request to kind of, if we could improve the self-storage facility. So in between, after our last meeting, I sent it around to the group, to the board, but this is what we're proposing to just make it more self-storage facility and less warehouse. So that's our proposal or attempt to do that. And then in term, the table of allowable uses or the use table, we are proposing, this is just a new item that had from the last meeting. We're proposing just to modify this one item, this restaurant takeout line item, which currently is prohibited in 114. And staff felt because of that this use is currently already, utilized in several locations in 114. And we've had several kind of inquiries or interest in doing it, that we, instead of having this use be prohibited, we were proposing to make it by right. And then also just in that use table, modifying where it says warehouse, and make it clearer that it's a self-storage facility to be consistent with the definition from the previous slide. And then in terms of the dimensional table, it was increasing the height of accessory uses from 10 to 20, and then modifying footnote 3 due to the standard size of sheds, which is kind of a common item administratively. And so that was it, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Tori?
No, thank you.
Lou?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. So guys, a question for staff. So in terms of a couple of things so you said the affordable housing provisions, they're now moved all to one article now, correct?
They're all moved to one section,
One
yes.
section,
Yes.
okay.
Right now, as we speak, the downtown affordable housing provisions are in section 18 for downtown.
Yep.
And then section 29 is for the rest of town, not downtown. And we're just moving and or merging them just so that they'll sit in section 29. But they'll
Looking at the
still,
language, isn't there an exception though for, is it the Maple Street overlay? Is that still in its own section or no?
yeah, yes, that's correct. Yes, yep. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes.
Different requirements, or is it?
Yes, they, because the 40R, they are required 20%.
Okay.
And that the rest of town is when you're proposing a net new units of 1 to 9, it's 10%, and then it becomes 12.5% when it's 10 or above.
Okay.
So you are correct, yes.
Okay.
Just of downtown, it's just the 40R, that's the 20%. But the other three, the downtown core, the live work, and the high street mixed-use corridor are all, will all be under that section 29.
Okay, got it. Okay, and also just the question in terms of on the table of allowable uses, I guess in terms of the 114A, so restaurant takeout would change. How long has that been prohibited? Because you indicated that seems, because it seems
Yeah.
that they exist.
Yeah, I'm not really exactly sure
Okay.
how and when or why. There's also several kind of definitions of restaurants, but that's I guess that's another thing that we could potentially work on in the future, hopefully. But yes, I'm not sure.
So what would this language currently connote, like restaurant takeout?
What's that? I'm sorry.
What would what the language as it currently stands, restaurant takeout, what would that entail?
We're not modifying it. We're leaving it completely the same.
Okay,
We're just changing the use table. We're just changing only in one zoning district, 114A, from an X to a P.
got it.
That's the only change.
Okay. And so there's no, and forgive me, in terms of the definition of restaurant takeout, you said there were varying definitions, or?
Or there's just several different definitions for restaurant, and then there's three subcategories, so it gets a little, but that's not changing.
Okay. All right. Got it. Thanks.
Further questions on the housekeeping, Jean?
No questions.
Tim?
No questions.
Mike?
No questions.
I don't have any further questions. Any other questions from the audience? Please, Bill, if you would, use the mic, identify yourself. Bill Bates, we'll let Bill Bates start off.
Good evening. Bill Bates, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 4. And Happy New Year to everybody, and again, thank you for your service to the town planning board members. It's really appreciated. I'm concerned, and maybe it's going to come out at FinCom, but if you could go to Section 3, if Mr. Chairman, that you had up there, and staff is saying that there's a lot of red in Section 3. I don't see any red. Will I see it
Yeah.
at town meeting?
You'll see it before 10. I have it right here if you'd like.
No, it's okay. Through you, Mr. Chairman, I went online. I'm worried that the changes that are being made are not, instead of black and white, red and black, as it should be. And if you assure me that by the time it gets to FinCom, and then by the time it gets to us at town meeting, it will be in red, so that I know what I'm voting on for changes. And I just want to feel that that's going to happen.
Yep, that will certainly happen.
Thank you.
Was that version shared with the town meeting members? The complete version?
Yeah, like we kind of mentioned at the last planning board meeting, we did send an email to every town meeting member who, the town has their email. We sent a link on the website, the planning board website, that has all the zoning articles included, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the red is definitely there, Bill. So, let's see it. Mr. Bradstreet?
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. What constitutes a restaurant? Is Dunkin' Donuts a restaurant? Seems to me in the past there was a big discussion about them being allowed to have a drive-through, and they're located, the unit I'm talking about was on 114. Are they a restaurant? I know some people would call them a fast food, but do they come under the umbrella? Because
Yeah.
if that's the case, there's already a drive-through
Yeah.
on 114. Is that
Yep.
somehow coming into play here?
If I may, the restaurant drive-through is its own separate line item, if that's your concern. We wouldn't be modifying, we're not modifying the rest. There's restaurant fast food, there's restaurant takeout, and there's restaurant drive-through. So if the concern is the restaurant drive-through 114, that's not what we're modifying here. We're just doing the takeout one. So if you're doing a restaurant drive-through, we're not modifying. I think that would still require a special permit, but I'd have to look for a second. But Dunkin' Donuts, we're not changing. If the scenario that you described, it wouldn't be changing what we're proposing to change, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'm trying to picture in my mind a drive-through attached to a building or a freestanding drive-through, but somehow they managed to get the food from point A to point B. It's still a drive-through.
A restaurant with a drive-through would not be allowed on 114A as we speak.
Okay.
And we're not proposing to change that.
Okay, just wanted to ask. Thank you.
Further questions on this item? Just need to identify yourself if you could, and what precinct.
Hi, Valeria Kenny. I have been a resident of Danvers since the 80s. I have a question. I think it might have been the one before this on the parking. Okay, so waive requirements of Section 10, including reduction in parking. Is there a standard requirement, like per unit?
Yes.
What is that?
It depends. Oh,
Depends on where you are.
So like if we talk downtown,
Yeah, it's all spelled out in the different areas of town as to what's required for parking.
Okay,
Through the zoning that we've done over the last several years, there's been given kind of a density bonus, a parking bonus, because the idea is that if people are going to live and work downtown, then maybe they don't need as many vehicles. Therefore, if you have a two-bedroom, for example, you might have a 1.5 parking space requirement for a developer. So the intent is to encourage public transportation, less vehicles, rail trail, walking, and so on. So that's kind of the newer smart growth intent for a lot of these projects that, especially in the downtown areas or the more dense areas that you're going to see.
okay. So, and public transportation, from what I see, I just see buses, a couple of them. And I'll tell you the truth, I grew up in Swampscott, it was real hard to get to Danvers.
Yeah, well, we're working on that.
Okay.
That's a state thing, and you know, our local representatives are trying to encourage more use of that, but before and leading up to COVID and during COVID, the usage was very low, so they kind of phased out the buses from downtown. I think there's still a bus to the mall.
There is.
There is.
Yeah.
Along Endicott Street and Water Street.
Yeah, but I know the representative was here at one of our meetings, and she's trying to get that back, but it's going to have to be something that I think with the new development downtown, where you're going to have more housing downtown, there might be a stronger need for it for people, and we'll take advantage of that, so.
Though if I could afford those apartments, or whatever they're going to be, I'm not taking a bus. I've been there, done that, you know, when I was younger, so. Okay, just wondering, so if I want to see like the parking requirements for the town, I'm figuring there's a, where do I go?
The
Like-
zoning bylaw is online.
Okay.
You can access that online, or we have hard copies as well, and Josh would love to assist you.
Good.
Monday through Friday.
I'm here every day. So,
Okay, great.
Yeah, but at the town hall.
Just informational, there are two, this section, the parking requirements for downtown are section 18, and the section 10 is for everything that's not downtown. The section 10 that we're referring to right here.
So that's where you can waive it.
You could.
That's the new
You
language?
could reduce it in both places, but in different, the board has there's different authority in different ways they can do it in both places, but it just, like, a lot of things in our world, it depends on what's happening or being proposed.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much.
Any further questions on the zoning articles?
Can I ask a question, Jim?
Go ahead, Tori.
On the 114 takeout issue, I'm just looking at some maps, and I may be mistaken, but it seems like there are a number of businesses that are probably primarily takeout there. Is this something that's just not being enforced, and we're trying to correct the bylaws to match reality?
I wouldn't say that. I would say that the kind of genesis for this is, like you said, there are several of the instances of takeout taking place on 114A, and then when people come to the office and say, I want to do that use, and then we are like, why is this prohibited and how is this prohibited? And we know that there's 3 to 5 to 7, so why are we prohibiting this when it, you know, it probably is an appropriate location for this use? It's sort of that more than I could think what your comment. It's not. I don't think it's trying. It's not trying to. I wouldn't use the word fix. I think it's just trying to reflect. I think it's more trying to reflect reality or what's happening.
Reflect the actual
Yeah.
uses going on there.
Yeah, and you know, and it probably is an appropriate use for that environment. So.
Thanks.
Any further questions from the board? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion from the clerk to close the public hearing.
Looks like someone's got their hand
Oh.
up on the meeting.
Sorry, 1 second.
Oh, sorry about that.
No problem.
We have an online question.
I guess if we could have, through the chair, if we could have John Ragucci ask a question or make a comment, or?
Sure, John, if you'd
Yeah, sorry.
identify yourself.
Hi, good evening. Actually, it's Joanne Wheelock-Waguchi. I'm on my husband's computer. Sorry about that. I am town meeting member precinct 2. And going back to section 10, the parking, I had a quick comment actually on that. And I think, you know, just for everyone to keep in mind that there's real concern if we're going to have a reduction in parking and to waive those requirements, you know, what's going to happen is, I hope everyone can keep in mind, is that our streets are going to be more clogged with cars. And on the sides, you know, it's going to become a traffic issue. And you can hire as many traffic experts as you want, but you can drive through heavily congested towns, cities already, and you can see how congested it is because of reduction in parking. If you're going to be building these big apartment buildings, there's going to be overflow parking from that. If you're going to reduce parking downtown, there's going to be overflow from that. So I'd really be very cautious on that. That's my only comment.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
Any other online activity?
I do not believe so.
All right, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion from the clerk to close the public hearing.
I'd like to move to close the public hearing for all the zoning bylaw amendment articles.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Tori. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. There's an additional motion. If you would make that motion, Mr. Clerk.
Yes. Be a motion to send the zoning bylaw amendment language to the Select Board for inclusion on the warrant for town meeting on February 5th, 2024. This zoning amendment language is comprised of the following articles. Article 7, Adaptive Reuse. Article 8, MBTA Communities. And Article 9, Housekeeping.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tori. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda, grab that real quick, is 152 Endicott Street, request for a roadway improvement plan and site plan review pursuant to Section 4 of the zoning bylaws submitted by JBM Danvers LLC for property in the Commercial 3 zoning district. The applicant proposes to improve an existing way, Chalet Court, to access a new retail commercial building and a new hotel, Assessors Map 63, Lot 14. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairperson Sears, members of the Planning Board. Frank Marinelli, again for the record. I represent Torrington Properties and its related entities that own 152 Endicott Street. As you know, this is a proposal that has been pending before the board since July, I think, was our first public hearing, and we have worked collaboratively, openly and diligently with the town and with the abutters to reach what we have tonight is a draft decision for the site plan review and also a draft decision for the road improvement. Just by way of background, the site is 4.3 acres in the Commercial 3 C3 zone. And the uses that are being proposed, the 10,900 square foot Fidelity pad, which is a retail pad, and the 15,000 approximately square foot hotel pad, 4-story, 61,000 square foot hotel, 95 keys. Those are uses by right in the C3 zone. We're reducing the impervious surface from about 69% to 53%. And all of that is shown on the Allen and Major plans. With us, I think I saw that Bob Clark, our project engineer, is on Zoom if there's any questions. Also, Jeff Dirk, our traffic engineer, is there on Zoom. I thought I saw Greg Michaelitis in the hallway, but you know, I don't know if he knows we're done with the zoning bylaws. In any event, I'll continue with the presentation, we had, as you know, had peer reviews for engineering on sewage capacity. There was a question about the second use, and we also had peer reviews, the rounds of peer reviews on traffic. So we're at a point where everything is resolved and everything is agreed in terms of any kind of issues that have been incorporated into the draft decision. On the engineering, we had a conference call with Josh Morris, Brian, and Stephen King earlier in the week. I guess that was yesterday. Seems like a week ago. But we had also got the report back from the peer review that there is adequate capacity. So that was an important thing that the board was concerned about. Is there adequate capacity? Engineering department was concerned about. There is adequate capacity. There are recommendations in a shorter engineering memo, which is dated today, that is incorporated into the record. So that's the status of the project. We believe that it is appropriate for site plan approval this evening and for the roadway improvement approval as well. As the town knows, it's an approximate $20 million investment between the acquisition and the improvements that we'll be performing. It's the installation of a roadway itself that was originally laid out in 1972, and it's been augmented by the proposal here tonight, where we have the plans. The most recent revision was dated December 20th, revision number 5, which is the 33-sheet set of plans that you have in the record, and that would be the basis for the site plan review. There's hardly a site that, I've been doing this for about 35 years on land use, as land use attorney, it's hardly a site that cries out for redevelopment more than this site, right? I mean, you have a vacant commercial site, abandoned, with a dilapidated old Denny's and Days Inn, and Torrington has a portfolio of about $800 million in properties. They're adequately capable, for sure, of performing this project and moving forward with all of the improvements, from the site itself to the roadway, to the landscaping, and also to some of the intersection improvements that will be performed. And also, we are performing some improvements on the abutting site at 180. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions, but we would ask for approval and the ability to move forward with the site plan review and with the roadway improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Lou?
Yeah, just thank you to the applicant. I know this has gone through, there's been a lot of moving parts here. And in terms of, I guess, so where we last left things was with respect to, there was peer review with respect to stormwater, and I guess one of the concerns that I know engineering had earlier on was that there was a need for either, a pretty expansive improvement in the area. And so I guess through consultations that assessment has changed. Is that right?
Yeah, it was predominantly the sewage capacity, the pumping station, and whether it was adequate.
Right.
And my understanding is that there's adequate capacity. Josh can weigh in, but the peer review was done by the consulting engineers.
Yeah, a lot of people involved, a lot of moving parts, but, so yes, there was a sewer peer review done by Arcadis, a private consultant, who has been in communication with our engineering staff, and they indicated to him that the sewage capacity issue seems like it's been, question has been resolved. Engineering did send a memo today.
Right. Most recent one dated today, correct? Yeah.
So,
One thing we did agree on in the record is the original engineering memo has been updated to January 4th. and it follows along the chronology of all of these various comments. But comment number 21, you'll remember, is what touched all of this off, where there was a request for $750,000 contribution, which was a non-starter. We weren't going to be doing that because we said there should be adequate capacity, and let's look into it, and now we're at the stage where that's been done. So I just want to understand for the record that is deleted, right?
The memo that is referenced in the decision is the memo that was received today. So whatever comments are in that
Okay.
January, there's two. There's the January 4th, 2024, and then the January 9th, 2024, which we both received today, are the documents that are referenced. And I do not believe that that condition in that amount is referenced in either of those.
Okay, so the only engineering memo that applies is the short one, the January 9th.
Both, but the other one doesn't, the January 4th one doesn't reference that cost that you alluded to earlier in your comment.
No, the January 4th does, on the top of page 9. The 750 is still listed there.
That's third comment.
So I would ask that there be a clear statement for the record that that does not apply.
Okay.
But that was the understanding. I know when we had talked about the draft decision, this was one of the things. In fact, there was language that said that the engineering memorandum applied except for, and this was to be noted as something that would not apply.
Yeah, I think that,
Isn't that right, Josh?
I believe that,
I just don't want any ambiguity. So I think that there's got to be a clear statement where that number, that was not something that was agreed to and was eventually determined to be eliminated.
yeah, I think that was just, I don't think that the thing that you're referencing, I think what holds the memo that should be referenced is that the one that was dated today.
January 9th. Is
The other one is also referent, like that comment is no longer in bold. If you keep going down, the comment that applies to that, where it says, the comment that applies to that, where at the bottom there, I know there's that amount that you said, but if you go further down, halfway through the page, it says engineering 6, the applicant shall allow the town of Danvers to make any necessary repairs to the existing sewer system as recommended by the Arcadis Sewer Evaluation Memorandum, which is also the comment that's in the other memo from January 9th.
It's the January 9th.
Yeah.
This is the Acadia.
Yeah, so
which is 2 pages.
yes.
Okay, so anything else is superseded.
It appears that it's that comment in bold is the one that kind of,
Okay, so
Yeah.
that as concerns page 9 of this lengthy January 4th,
it's the comment in bold is what I think the issue is that there's been so many back and forths that
Right.
all the comments prior to this date were just included, and it wasn't removed.
okay, so
But
the only thing that counts
It's in
is,
bold, it's in bold, what the applicant shall allow the town of Danvers to make any necessary repairs to the existing sewer system as recommended by the Arcadis Sewer Memorandum.
that's
Then
the end result of the discussion, right?
For that item, yes.
For that item,
And
which
then-
is where the 750 number was. So,
And then that item, that language is also carried over into that other memo dated today. So I think that's what carries. All right?
okay, so that item 21 and every other numbered item is concluded by the final boldface comment in each section.
That's how I read it, yes. And then it was just carried over to that memo that was dated today.
Which is just a 2-page memo.
That's right.
Okay, so this is pretty much the summary on engineering. Thank you. I introduced that Bob Clark and Jeff Durek are on Zoom, and Pete Doucette, the Development Director for Torrington, and also Greg Michaelitis are here. And I don't know if you gentlemen have any items that you want to talk about as concerns the draft decision, or whether the draft decisions are in order from our perspective. So we're good with the draft decisions.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Further questions from the board? Lou, did you finish your question?
I did, yes.
Okay. Tori?
No questions.
Jean?
Yeah, I just have a question on the site plan, the utility page. So you're saying that they don't need to have that area to the north of the office building for a future pump station at all? That doesn't have to be reserved?
That's a different issue. We are still doing the easement for the town, right?
We're allocating an area for that.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, just, yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tim?
Yeah, only question was, there was a comment here about a waiver to the bylaw about width of access drives. Can you just point out where on the design that is?
Is Bob? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, all the internal access
It's Greg
drives.
Michaelitis, it's all the access drives. Oh, Bob, are you answering that? Yeah, I'm fine. It's throughout the site, they're 24-foot travel lanes. And that reduces the pavement, reduces, gets the pavement away from the wetlands.
Thanks. No other questions.
Okay. Michael?
No questions, thank you.
All right. I don't have any further questions at this time. I'll turn it over to the audience. Questions from the audience, if you would. Use the microphone and identify yourself. Attorney McCann?
Thank you very much. My name is Nancy McCann. I represent Eastern Bank, trustee of the Animases Trust, owners of the property at 180, 160, and 182 Endicott Street. And as I indicated, I believe at the last meeting that I spoke, we've been working diligently and in good faith, as the development team has as well, to come up with a resolution of the issues that I had described to you that first came up, I believe, in my letter in July. The plan that's before you tonight with the revisions through December 20th reflect the discussions that we've had, and we believe address the concerns that we have. I did speak with planning staff today. I have had an opportunity to review the draft decisions that the board is reviewing tonight, and we do not oppose the approval of the redevelopment plan that's before you. And based on those draft decisions, we do have a private agreement, of course, with the developer that we're very close to getting that pen to paper on that, which we anticipate very soon as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Further questions from the audience? Seeing none? Final questions from the board? I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
It's not a public hearing technically, but it will be soon.
Public meeting?
Yeah.
Move to close the public
No,
meeting?
no.
Excuse me?
I have my hand up.
Oh,
Hello?
sorry about that.
Oh, all right.
Hold on. A lot of moving parts, okay.
About
Yes.
an inch.
Yes, sorry.
Damn, it's hard to see. Sorry. We have a question from the audience online.
Yep. Joanne Wheelock-Pagucci, town meeting member, precinct 2. I have actually 4 questions regarding this property, so please bear with me.
Why don't we take them one at a time, Joanne?
I'll be quick, and
Yeah.
I hope we can make the time. My first question is, driving by this property for a long time now, especially the old Denny's building, there is a lot of debris on top of that building that I think is a worry about, especially with a lot of this weather coming in now and a lot of these high winds, that something can blow off, go through a car windshield, hit someone, hit a car, cause an issue, an accident, what is the town doing to hold whoever is responsible for keeping that property cleaned up as of right now? What can we do about this? I find it to be a public safety concern.
Well, again, there is an owner of the property, and that owner is required to have insurance.
Okay.
They're going to have builder's risk insurance.
All right, well,
so-
the owner needs to be held accountable by the town to clean off that debris off that roof, because I find it to be a public safety issue. And it's been there for a long time, and I cannot believe no one from the town has said something,
Well,
so.
the town, as you
where
can
can
see,
we-
the town has clearly been involved in the review between all the departments of the town. So I think if they felt there was an immediate safety concern, then they would ask for assistance from the applicant, who is the owner, who controls the property.
Well, I'm raising my hand saying I think it is a safety concern, and I'd like the town to take a little harder look at that.
I'll have the applicant,
Okay.
the gentleman, engineer, is going to respond to your comment real quick.
Yeah, this
Good.
is Pete
Good.
with Torrington Properties.
Yeah, hi, Pete.
Hi. We abated the building a number of months ago. Some of that is some loose debris. We're happy to go in and put in a pile on the ground so that there's no hazard. Pending an approval and appeal, we're basically ready and geared up to remove the buildings completely. And have
Okay,
been
that's
waiting.
great, but I think in the meantime, I would like to see that
Yep.
debris removed off that roof.
We'll make sure whatever's there will not be blown away. We're not
Yeah, it
gonna.
looks like a lot of loose metal panels and maybe some wood and things like that, so. I mean, tonight, we're supposed to get like 50, 75 mile an hour winds. Saturday, we're gonna get it, so, it is a little bit of a concern.
We'll make
and-
sure that nothing can get blown out into the street.
Or into somebody. Great, perfect. The next question is, I thought somewhere along the line, and I could be wrong on this, in the discussions on the development of this property, that if the hotel didn't go through, was there a provision, or is there still a provision in the plan for the hotel to become apartments? Was that, I could be wrong, but I just wanted to
That's
get
never been
clarification on
proposed.
that.
That's not been part of the proposal, to the best of my knowledge.
Never been, okay,
For-
good.
I'll let the attorney.
Yeah, no, there's no proposal for apartments.
Okay, so that is strictly going to be a new hotel?
There is a provision in the decision that if there's an altered use or a different use, that it would have to come back to the board if vehicle trips changed, for example.
Okay, so there is a chance that the use could be altered?
Well, just for informational purposes, not to cut, this property is zoned commercial 3, and residential isn't an allowed use in this zoning district, so
Okay.
it can't be, as we speak, it can't be proposed to be residential. Yeah,
So we'd have to change the zoning law?
yeah, that's one avenue, yes.
All right, okay, good. The next is sort of a two-part question. What is the price tag for the town to get the infrastructure around this project ready? What is the current price tag for the town?
The town to get the infrastructure?
Yeah, I mean, if we have to increase the sewage capacity, the roadways, is this all
No, this is something
line
that
the cost of the
applicant-
developer? Is there no town cost on this at all?
Well, they're connecting to town services, and as was mentioned earlier, they found that the sewage capacity was adequate to handle it after
Right.
extensive study.
Okay, right.
So typically, the applicant, is going to build their buildings. It's not going to cost the town anything.
Okay, so no infrastructure costs around this development at all that's gonna kick
Typically,
back
the
to
offsite
town?
improvements in this case, off of this particular lot, are connected to the Mrs. property. Everything's going to be paid for by the applicant.
Okay. Okay, and what is the projected income tax on this fully developed new property once it's up and running?
I think you mean real estate tax? So,
Uh-huh.
real estate tax would be based upon the commercial tax rate. So the estimate is a $20 million price tag to develop it. I'm not sure what the finished product value would be for the two. That would be something you'd have to check with the tax assessor's office. I'm not able to give you that opinion. I don't think staff is either. But I mean, basically, if you get a value, you multiply it times the commercial tax rate, it's probably not going to be finished next year, or this year, it might be 2025. So you'd have to see what that is at the time, but that's how you would derive the real estate taxes.
Okay, okay.
Which is going to be a lot more than what's being
the-
paid now.
Okay.
And there's
so-
hotel
and then my
tax,
fifth-
there's
my
a
fifth
lot of
and-
additional taxes that, revenue for the
Okay.
town.
Just wondering if we had that number or not, no problem.
That's
I
not
can
really
get
a number
that.
that would be
Right.
germane to this discussion. It's
No,
not,
but-
it's not something that would influence any
Okay.
decision. By
And
this board.
then, what is, so this property is right across from the 128 intersection, and, which obviously we all know is a very busy intersection. And what improvements, or has there been any recommended improvements to that intersection? I know it already has lights and so forth, but any improvements on that being discussed?
On any development such as this, there's a traffic study. There was also a peer review that was done. And so this was fully vetted by town staff, by peer review, and looking at the traffic and the impact on the, the crossings and the light signals and the timing. And I mean, I can let the applicant respond. I don't need to respond for him on this, but
The whole corridor.
I mean, the whole corridor was looked at for Endicott Street and the connections to the 128.
Okay, and what was concluded?
I'll let the applicant reply.
Jeff, Greg Michaelitis, Jeff Dirk, the traffic engineer on the phone, but basically keep it simple. It's getting a whole brand-new intersection out there at Endicott, yeah, all new lights, signals, cameras, and a chalet court. It's all being paid for by the applicant. Crosswalks, sidewalks, it's been well vetted by your peer-reviewed traffic engineer.
Okay, so that whole intersection will be improved upon? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, great, thank you very much, thank you.
All right. Any further questions from the board, the audience, or online? Now I'll go back to the motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Tory. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Now there's a motion, there's actually two motions. We'll start
roadway.
with the roadway.
Roadway improvement plan?
Yes.
Okay. Roadway improvement plan, Chalet Court and 152 Endicott Street. Try to go through this as quickly as I can here, but date of application, June 15th, 2023. Date of hearing, July 25th, 2023. September 12th, 2023, no public testimony. September 26th, 2023, no public testimony. October 24th, 2023, November 28th, 2023, December 12th, 2023, January 9th, 2024. Date of decision, January 9th, 2024. The Danvers Planning Board finds the roadway improvement plan submitted by JBM Danvers LLC to construct Chalet Court to access property at 152 Endicott Street, Assessors Map 63, Lot 14, to be in substantial compliance with the criteria and regulations adopted by the town. Details of the roadway improvement plan and associated documents can be found on the following plans and documents. 1. Site improvement plans for 152 Endicott Street, Danvers, Mass. 01923, prepared by Allen and Major Associates, Inc., dated June 15th, 2023, revised to December 20th, 2023, consisting of 33 sheets. 2. Conceptual improvement plan, Endicott Street at Independence Way and Chalet Court, prepared by Vaness and Associates, Inc., dated November 20th, 2023, consisting of 1 sheet. 3. Transportation impact assessment, prepared by Vaness and Associates, Inc., dated May 2023. 4. Contract agreement for proposed work to Torrington Properties, Inc., dated November 15th, 2023. 5. Traffic peer review. Final comments prepared by Howard Stein Hudson, memorandum dated December 5th, 2023. Town of Danvers Engineering Division memorandum dated January 4th, 2024, and a final comment summary dated January 9th, 2024. Administrative. The project is subject to the following conditions. 1. Chalet Court was laid out by the Massachusetts Department of Public Works, acting on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the town pursuant to the layout number 5983 and an order of taking dated September 28, 1972, and recorded with the registry in Book 5913, page 646. The order of taking. As shown on those plans, recorded with the registry in Plan Book 124, page 20, this was necessary due to accommodate revisions to the state's highway layout of Route 128. The town of Danvers retains the right to improve Chalet Court pursuant to layout number 5983 and delegates the process of developing the way to a third party. The town delegates the right to improve Chalet Court to JBM Danvers LLC, the developer. Subject to the developer obtaining all necessary permits, the developer shall construct Chalet Court at its sole cost. No abutting property owners shall be responsible for bearing any costs associated with the improvement of Chalet Court. 2. All permits, plans, and memorandums must be reviewed to the reasonable satisfaction of the town of Danvers, satisfaction not to be unreasonably withheld, conditioned, or delayed. 3. Prior to any construction or reconstruction of Chalet Court or the Endicott Street / Independence Way / Chalet Court intersection, the applicant and/or developer must receive any necessary permits from local and/or state agencies applicable to the roadway construction. 4. The developer shall, at its own expense, acquire all easements necessary prior to any Chalet Court and Endicott Street / Independence Way / Chalet Court intersection construction and pay all costs and fees from any affected private property owners and draft them into proper form for recording for the town of Danvers. Potential costs include the bidding, procurement, and construction costs of the associated improvements to the Endicott Street / Independence Way intersection. All necessary easements must be in control held by the town of Danvers prior to water, sewer, street opening, trench, and all other utility permits being granted by the town of Danvers DPW. 5. Prior to any roadway construction on Endicott Street, the applicant and/or developer must install a new traffic video detection system. The traffic video detection system must be furnished, installed, and functioning properly. 6. Prior to the granting of the building permit for any building on 152 Endicott Street, the applicant and/or developer must provide a construction level, 75% or above complete, intersection plan for the Endicott Street / Independence Way / Chalet Court intersection with the following associated conditions. A. Must be reviewed and approved Danvers Engineering Division prior to any reconstruction of the intersection. B. The intersection plan must be prepared on a surveyed base plan. C. The applicant shall be responsible for providing the necessary geotechnical requirements to facilitate installation of the mast arm and signal foundations. D. The work in the right-of-way shall be bonded. A performance guarantee / bond as estimated by the Danvers Engineering Division in acceptable form as approved by Town Council shall be provided to the Danvers Public Works Department, DPW. The effective date of the performance guarantee / bond is to be reassessed every year. A new bond / performance guarantee shall be issued to account for the rise of inflation or stricter permitting requirements. 7. Prior to issuance of a building permit for any building at 152 Endicott Street, a temporary traffic control plan shall be submitted to Danvers Police, Fire, and DPW for review and approval. 8. Prior to the granting of a certificate of occupancy, CO, for any building at 152 Endicott Street, the construction of Chalet Court, Endicott Street / Independence Way / Chalet Court intersection reconstruction improvements, including but not limited to new traffic signal system, new pedestrian curb ramps, new mast arms, new crosswalks across Endicott Street, all other associated work on the site development plan at 180 Endicott Street and environs, repaving and restriping the intersection, and new sidewalk, approximately 500 feet, along the southern eastbound side of Endicott Street between Chalet Court and the existing sidewalk segment and crosswalk at the Endicott Street / Route 128 southbound ramps intersection must all be complete in its entirety. The traffic signal must be operational to the satisfaction of the town of Danvers. 9. Prior to issuance of certificate of occupancy, CO, for any building at 152 Endicott Street, the applicant and/or developer shall design and implement an optimal traffic signal timing, phasing, and coordination plan for the Endicott Street Coordinated Traffic Signal System. The planned traffic signal timing improvements along the Endicott Street corridor shall include implementation of exclusive pedestrian phases where appropriate and as approved by Mass DOT. The following intersections shall be a part of the retiming and coordination of the traffic signals along the Endicott Street corridor. A, Endicott Street / Hutchison Drive. B, Endicott Street / Market Basket Plaza / MGM Danvers Driveways. C, Endicott Street / 128 northbound ramp / should be MGH Danvers Entrance Driveway. D, Endicott Street / Route 128 southbound ramps. E, Endicott Street / Independence Way / Chalet Court. F, Endicott Street / Commonwealth Way. G, Endicott Street / Sylvan Street. H, Sylvan Street / Federal Street / Collins Street. 10, all work performed on Chalet Court and Endicott Street shall be in conformance with the Mass Highway 1988 standard specification for highways and bridges as supplemented and amended. The standard special provisions dated July 1st, 2015. The interim supplemental specifications for highway and bridges dated April 2019. The 2017 construction standard details as supplemented and amended. The 1996 construction and traffic standard details as relates to the traffic standard details only. The current version of the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices for Streets and Highways, MUTCD, with revisions. The 1990 standard drawings for signs and supports. The overhead signal structure and foundation details dated December 2015. The 1968 standard drawings for traffic signals and highway lighting. The latest edition of the American Standard for Nursery Stock, the approved roadway and site plans in the 1979 Danvers subdivision regulations. 11, when the standard specifications and subdivision regulation conflict, the more stringent of the two shall take precedent. 12, the applicant and/or developer shall examine the proposed handicap ramps and ensure the orientation of handicap detectable warning pads are best aligned with the proposed crosswalks. 13, the project must adhere to the Transportation Demand Management, TDM, measures stated in the Transportation Impact Assessment, TIA, prepared by Vanessa & Associates, Inc., dated May 2023. 14, the applicant shall satisfy all the comments in the Howard Stein Hudson HSH memorandum dated December 5th, 2023. 15, the applicant shall satisfy all the comments in the Danvers Engineering Division memorandum dated January 4th, 2024, and a final comment summary dated January 9th, 2024. 16, if there are any changes to the approved plans or the conditions on premises, planning staff shall review. If deemed a significant or material change by staff, the applicant may have to apply for a modification to the roadway improvement plan application. Any approval of this roadway improvement plan shall lapse within 3 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date. Signed, James Sears, Chair.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tori. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Thank you.
Good luck on that. Now, the next is the site plan decision. If I could endeavor you to read that again? Read that, Mr. Clerk?
Take a
Get
sip
some
here.
water? Mm-hmm. Doing a fine job.
Okay.
Waive the reading.
All right, here we go. Site plan review, 152 Endicott Street. Date of application, June 15th, 2023. Date of hearings, July 25th, 2023, September 12th, 2023, no public testimony, September 26th, 2023, no public testimony, October 24th, 2023, November 28th, 2023, December 12th, 2023, January 9th, 2024. Date of decision, January 9th, 2024. The Danvers Planning Board finds the site plan submitted by JBM Danvers, LLC, for property at 152 Endicott Street, Assessors Map 63, Lot 14, to be in substantial compliance with the criteria and regulations adopted by the town. Details of the plan review can be found on the following plans and documents. 1. Site development plans for 152 Endicott Street, Danvers, Mass. 01923, prepared by Allen and Major Associates, Inc., dated June 15th, 2023, revised to December 20th, 2023, consisting of 33 sheets. 2. Conceptual Improvement Plan, Endicott Street at Independence Way and Chalet Court, prepared by Vanessa & Associates, Inc., dated November 20th, 2023, consisting of 1 sheet. 3. Transportation Impact Assessment, TIA, prepared by Vanessa & Associates, Inc., dated May 2023. 4, contract agreement for proposed work to Torrington Properties, Inc., dated November 15, 2023. 5, traffic peer review, final comments prepared by Howard Stein Hudson, HSH, memorandum dated December 5, 2023. 6, Town of Danvers Engineering Division memorandum dated January 4, 2024, and final comment summary dated January 9, 2024. The following submission requirements have been waived. 1, Section 4.3.1, Title Sheet. Section 4.3.1A, all existing buildings and principal buildings on the site are shown on the existing condition plan. V-1.01, Section 4.3.1B, the land use of each lot is not shown on the title sheet. Section 4.3.1D, existing contours at 1-foot intervals are shown on the existing condition plan. V-101. Section 4.3.1G, recorded easements abutting the tract are shown on the existing condition plan. V-101. 2, Section 4.3.2, site analysis plan. No specific site analysis plan submitted. Existing contours at 1-foot intervals are shown on the existing conditions plan. V-101. Wetland boundary and wetland buffer boundaries are shown on the existing conditions plan. V-101. Site preparation plan. C-101. And overall site plan, C-102. 3, Section 4.3.3, dimensional regulations plan. No specific dimensional regulations plan submitted. Lot lines are shown on the existing conditions plan, V-101, and overall site plan, C-102. The location of existing easements are shown on the existing condition plan, V-101. The yard setback for the proposed retail/commercial building is shown on the overall site plan, C-102. A zoning dimensional table showing existing and proposed lot area, frontage, yard setbacks, building height, and impervious surface is shown on the overall site plan, C-102. 4, Section 4.3.4, Site Construction Plan. The site construction plan is entitled the Layout and Materials Plan, C-102A, C-102B. Section 4.3.4B, the existing contours are shown at 1-foot intervals as are shown on the existing condition plan, V-101, and proposed contours are shown on the overall grading and drainage plan, C-103. Section 4.3.4F, the proposed drainage system in general is shown on the overall grading and drainage plan, C-103. Section 4.3.4G, proposed landscaping in general is shown on the overall landscape plan, L-101. Section 4.3.4I, a table indicating amounts of earth material that are to be removed, added, or reused on site in cubic feet is not shown on the layout and materials plan. 5, Section 4.3.5, street layout and profile plan. No specific street layout and profile plan submitted. The layout of Chalet Court is shown on the overall site plan, C-102, and layout and materials plan, C-102A. The proposed construction features pavement, walks, sidewalks, curbs, traffic island associated with Chalet Court are shown on layout and materials plan, C-102A. The catch basins, manholes, culvert, water service, existing traffic signal and controller cabinets associated with Chalet Court are shown on the overall grading and drainage plan, C-103, and overall utilities plan, C-104. 6, Section 4.3.6, utilities plan. Section 4.3.6B, the profile of utilities are shown on utility and drainage profiles, C-202. 7, Section 4.3.7, landscape plan. Section 4.3.7A, the existing contours are shown at 1-foot intervals are shown on the existing condition plan, V-101, and proposed contours are shown on the overall grading and drainage plan, C-103. Section 4.3.7E, a plant and plant schedule to be used at time of planting is shown on the landscape notes, L401. Section 4.3.7G, the methods for protecting plant materials during construction are shown on landscape notes and details, L501. Section 4.3.7I, the yard setbacks from the lot lines are shown on the overall site, C102. Section 4.3.7J, a table showing the overall percentage of existing and proposed impervious surface is shown on the overall site plan, C102. 8, Section 4.3.8, off-street parking and loading plan. No specific off-street parking and loading plan submitted. The number, location, and dimension of driveways, aisles, and parking spaces is shown on the overall site plan, C-102, and layout and materials plan, C-102A, C-102B. Construction details and site and size and type of material for surface paving, drainage, facilities, and curbing are shown on details, C-501, C-502, C-503, C-504, C-505, C-506. Provided landscaping is shown on the overall landscape plan, L-101, and landscape plan, L-101A. A parking table is shown on the overall site plan, C-102. 9, Section 4.4, Table of Development Data. No table of development data submitted. Total land area, building coverage, impervious surface, gross floor area of all buildings, and number of off-street parking spaces is shown on the overall site plan, C-102. The following requirements from the zoning bylaw have been waived. Section 10.3.g, width of access drives and parking aisles. The project requires that all access drives and parking aisles for two-way traffic shall have a minimum width of 24 feet. The project proposes an access drive for two-way traffic in the parking lot with the width of 22 feet. Administrative. The project is subject to the following conditions. 1. Prior to endorsement, the site plan must have the following revisions. A. All comments and revisions stated in the traffic impact peer review memo prepared by Howard Stein Hudson, HSH, dated December 5th, 2023. B. All comments and revisions stated in the Danvers Engineering Division memorandum dated January 4th, 2024, and a final comment summary dated January 9th, 2024. 2. All permits, plans, and memorandums must be reviewed to the reasonable satisfaction of the town of Danvers. Satisfaction not to be unreasonably withheld, conditioned, or delayed. 3. The developer shall, at his own expense, acquire all easements necessary prior to any Chalet Court and Endicott Street / Independence Way / Chalet Court intersection construction, and pay all costs and fees from any affected private property owners and draft them into proper form for recording for the town of Danvers. Potential costs include the bidding, procurement, and construction costs of the associated improvements to the Endicott Street / Independence Way intersection. All necessary easements must be in control / held by the town of Danvers prior to water, sewer, street opening, trench, and all other utility permits being granted by the town of Danvers DPW. 4. Prior to the granting of the building permit for any building at 152 Endicott Street, the applicant and/or developer must provide a construction level 75% or above complete intersection plan for Endicott Street / Independence Way / Chalet Court intersection with the following associated conditions. A. Must be reviewed and approved by Danvers Engineering Division prior to any reconstruction of the intersection. B. The intersection plan must be prepared on a surveyed base plan. C. The applicant shall be responsible for providing the necessary geotechnical requirements to facilitate installation of the mast, arm, and signal foundations. D. The work in the right-of-way will need to be bonded. A performance guarantee / bond, as estimated by the Danvers Engineering Division, in acceptable form as approved by Town Council, shall be provided to the Danvers Public Works Department, DPW. The effective date of the performance guarantee / bond is to be reassessed every year. A new performance guarantee / bond shall be issued to account for the rise of inflation or stricter permitting requirements. 5. Prior to issuance of a building permit for any building at 152 Endicott Street, a temporary traffic control plan shall be submitted to Danvers Police, Fire, and DPW for review and approval. Prior to the granting of a certificate of occupancy, CO, for any building at 152 Endicott Street, the construction of Chalet Court, Endicott Street / Independence Way / Chalet Court intersection reconstruction improvements, including but not limited to new traffic signal system, new pedestrian curb ramps, new mast arms, new crosswalks across Endicott Street. All other associated work on the site development plan at 180 Endicott Street and environs, repaving and restriping the intersection, and new sidewalk, approximately 500 feet, along the southern, eastbound side of Endicott Street between Chalet Court and the existing sidewalk segment and crosswalk at the Endicott Street / 128 southbound ramps intersection must all be complete in its entirety. The traffic signal must be operational to the satisfaction of the town of Danvers. 7. Prior to issuance of certificate of occupancy, CO, for any building at 152 Endicott Street, the applicant and/or developer shall design and implement an optimal traffic signal timing, phasing, and coordination plan for the Endicott Street coordinated traffic signal system. The planned traffic signal timing improvements along the Endicott Street corridor shall include implementation of exclusive pedestrian phases where appropriate and as approved by Mass DOT. The following intersections shall be a part of the retiming and coordination of the traffic signals along the Endicott Street corridor. A, Endicott Street / Hutchison Drive. B, Endicott Street / Market Basket Plaza / MGH Danvers Driveways. C, Endicott Street / Route 128 northbound ramp / MGH Danvers Entrance Driveway. D, Endicott Street / Route 128 southbound ramps. E, Endicott Street / Independence Way / Chalet Court. F, Endicott Street / Commonwealth Way. G, Endicott Street / Sylvan Street. H, Sylvan Street / Federal Street / Collins Street. 8, the applicant and/or developer shall examine the proposed handicap ramps and ensure the orientation of handicap detectable warning paths are best aligned with the proposed crosswalks. 9, the project must adhere to the Transportation Demand Management, TDM, measures stated in the Transportation Impact Assessment, TIA, prepared by Vanessa and Associates, Inc., dated May 2023. 10, the applicant shall satisfy all the comments in the Howard Stein Hudson's HSH memorandum dated December 5th, 2023. 11, the applicant shall satisfy all the comments in the Danvers Engineering Division memorandum dated January 4th, 2024, and final comment summary January 9th, 2024. 12, any signage, other than directional signs, that are deemed off premises require a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals, ZBA. 13, if there are any changes to the approved plans, the use or the conditions on premises, planning staff shall review. If deemed a significant or material change by staff, the applicant may have to apply for a modification to site plan review application. The project is subject to the attached list of general conditions. Any approval of this site plan review shall lapse within 3 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date. Signed, James Sears, Chair.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tori. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Thank you very much for your time and your work on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. All right. The remaining item we have is the meeting minutes from the 12th of December. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those minutes? Any changes or amendments? Hearing none. If I could get a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved?
Second.
I'm going to recuse myself because I
Claire
wasn't there.
Second.
Second by Jean. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approve the minutes. Anything further from the staff? Next meeting, 2 weeks?
Yep, that's right. We'll have one item. It's a site plan review for 15 Pope's Lane.
Okay, and then just one question I had on a unrelated, just a review of the signage requirements at Market Basket with the liquor store, the new liquor store over there. They have, I was over that way the other day. They presently have, at the time that I was there, they had 6 sandwich boards in front of the establishment, and their signage appears to take up a majority of the windows. So I think we have a strict requirement on how much signage you can have blacking out the windows. And sandwich boards, 6 seem to be excessive for one establishment.
We can certainly look into this item. It's zoned commercial, it's in the commercial 3, so we would just have to look at what's, what they're allowed to do, and if that's what they're doing. If not, then we could reach out to them and let them know.
Did we ever hear anything back from Simon on the paving that wasn't done? Just getting
Yeah, I
further
can't speak
exacerbated.
too much into it, but there's likely or potentially an application in that property, in that area. So I think that may be an appropriate time to have that conversation. So I guess I could just leave it at that.
Anything further from staff?
Yes, just one, I just like to do one blurb from the town staff working on the town of Danvers, the strategic plan. The strategic Danvers has 2 open surveys asking for community feedback. One is about the draft vision and goals for Danvers in 2030 and beyond, and the other is about the potential action items that the plan could recommend. They are hoping that folks will do the survey, and the website is, please go to the project website. It's strategic.danversma.gov, and they're asking everyone to complete just these 2 short surveys, just looking for feedback, so.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move the way adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.